Now we move on to pitch. So what is pitch? Any musicians? Pitch is where your vocal tone falls on a tonal scale. So, one time in a public speaking class, there was a piano in the room I taught in, and it was so great. This one lesson, I could just do the piano, the tonal scale, and show like this is, how tone is conceptualized in terms of how we think of it on this scale. What does pitch communicate? Any guesses? Any guesses what pitch communicates? So at its very base level, and sometimes people say, excitement or enthusiasm. Like there's um, different different ways to say this. Um, uh, it at its base level, pitch communicates gender. So male bodies or masculine bodies are roughly about an octave lower than femme bodies. Obviously, this is very general. And I'm not saying all women or all men. As you may have noticed, my voice is very low for a femme body. Um, but this is like, when someone calls and you're like, hello, and they're like, can I speak to your brother? And you're like, it is the brother, right? Like, um, depending on where that pitch is, tells us kind of what type of body it is. Um, Pitch is fine. I don't think pitch is super interesting. Pitch to me becomes much more interesting when it starts to move. So the movement of pitch is when we get intonation. And intonation is how the pitch moves on that tonal scale and how that, communicates decisiveness or hesitancy. So thinking about questions, if I ask a question, um, I mean, I could even say something in this tone. I could say, I like your shirt. You look really nice today. Versus, I like your shirt. You look really nice today. Going up at the end communicates hesitancy. Going down, communicates decisiveness. And there are different levels of this, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. Do you hear how the different ways I choose to implement that intonation gives it a different feel? Um, so what you should do after this video is you should go into the folder and click on Taylor Molly's poem. The link will be there. And that poem is called, oh, the name just went out of my head. But Taylor Molly has a poem where he, well, you're going to go watch it. And I want you to, notice how you feel about what he's saying. Um, and then, like whatever is the name of the poem. Oh, that was driving me nuts. Like whatever. Um, and then you're going to go watch the second poem, and you'll see that they're both there. And that poem is by, I believe her name is Melissa Hernandez, but I want to double check here. So then you're going to listen to her poem next. And in an ideal world, we would have a great discussion about tone and about my video tried to play here. I'm trying to find her name. Oh, Melissa Lazada Olivia. Melissa Azada Olivia. So I have been playing Taylor Molly's poem since I started teaching for over 12 years. And several years into teaching this, this woman created this poem called like Totally Whatever. And it's for, it's in response to Taylor Molly's poem. And I'll go watch them before you play the rest of this video. Um, and then basically, thinking about how tone indicates gender and how we have gender bias for tone. Um, Women, as much as I don't like to teach to these norms, right? And I want to kind of say, talk however you want to talk. Women have a tendency to use upward tone, and that has a tendency to make them sound unsure of themselves. Men who have lower tones have the issue that they often sound mumbly or disinterested because they sound more monotone. So, I mean, each sort of gender, and there are not two genders, there are multiple genders. So I'm really generalizing here in terms of like the social binary. But um, each gender sort of has that stereotype attached to it. I think thinking contextually about, when you're thinking about how to blend in socially and when you're just talking in a way that feels comfortable to you. I had a very dear friend present at a conference once, and she was presenting an autoethnography, a story that was about her and experiences that were about her. And afterwards, someone came up to her, and this person was male, and he basically said, you did so good. You'd be even better if you took out all your vocal fillers. And she was so ticked, and rightfully so, right? Like, who the heck is he to tell her how to sound powerful, right? Um, and yet, if you're speaking for a very large audience, you can't necessarily control how people think of you, and it might be to your advantage to make choices so that they think of you in a very certain way, depending on the social, assumptions you carry with your body. Um, this is my sister, Tiffany, and we have this family story that when she was like 5, my mom, she got up from the table and my mom said, go get the applesauce. And she was like 2 steps to the kitchen, and then she said, oh, yeah, and bring a leaky spoon for the corn. That's what we called spoons with holes in them. And so my sister came back with a spoon and sat down, and we all looked at her, and she goes, "Oh, applesauce." And, she was so little, but she was the only one in our family who has blonde hair. And that like stuck, right, as this joke, right? This like where her pitch indicated that she wasn't very bright, right? And so thinking about how pitch has these like stereotypes, and then how intonation or how that moves while we talk and communicate, really can influence how someone is understanding what you're saying.